seconds. 4 seconds. Halliburton for the lead. And the Pacers are moving on. Tensions rising on the court.
I believe being humble and victor, having a fan cursing at me, I think it's totally unacceptable.
I don't think that my pops was in the right at all. Unfortunate, what happened in the end there.
A lot of people out there that when you win the game, it's a green light for you to be disrespectful towards somebody else. I disagree. I've won the championship. They haven't.
Good day. Welcome to First Take on a Wednesday. The Bucks-Pacers Game 5 went to OT last night. It featured a collapse and controversy that you just saw. It's a Mad Dog Wednesday. Brian Windhorst is here. Stephen A. I'm Molly Karam. Guys, let's dive right into this because there's a whole lot to unpack. Giannis Antetokounmpo posted a 30-point, 20-rebound, 13-assist triple-double, but Indiana forced 2 turnovers in the final 29 seconds of OT, and Hallie blew past Antetokounmpo for a layup to close an 8-0 run and steal one from the Bucks. Hallie hit a go-ahead layup with 1.3 seconds left in that OT that gave them a series-clinching 119-118 victory Tuesday night. Entering Tuesday, teams that were 1,609-0 in the playoffs and leading by at least 7 points with 40 seconds or fewer remaining in the fourth quarter overtime in the play-by-play era, which dates back to 97-98. All right, a lot to deal with. First, we're going to start with the game. Stephen A., how bad was this collapse?
Well, listen, it was a collapse, but as bad as it looked, it really came down to a couple of things, and it involves Gary Trent Jr. And I'm really sorry for him because he played sensational, particularly in the overtime. The brother hit 3 or 4 straight threes. He was a marksman out there. But then 2 inexplicable turnovers. You don't jump up in the air to throw a pass when you're pressed like that. That was mistake number 1, number turnover. And then you see Doc Rivers just cover his head and all of this other stuff because the ball went right through his hands for the second turnover that basically put Indiana in a position for Halliburton to ultimately close the deal right there. You got to get, it's inexplicable. It just went through his hands. That's not about coaching at that point. That's about, it's not just about making plays. It's about making sure you don't make bad plays. And in that particular thing, he knows. My heart goes out to him because he played a hell of a game.
He did.
And to have those 2 turnovers obviously cost him. And that's what makes it bad. What makes it catastrophic potentially is if Giannis Antetokounmpo looks at this situation and says, it's time for me to move on. I need to move on beyond. It'll be his decision.
Yeah.
There is no doubt about that. Milwaukee will hold on to him for dear life as much as they can. But if he decides, particularly with Damian Lillard now tearing his Achilles, that the future's just not bright for me here in Milwaukee, I need to move on, this loss, would be the culminating point.
Yeah, after the NBA Cup, it felt like the hits just kept on coming for this team. Mad Dog?
Well, the first thing I'll say is let's not blame coaches for a change. Everybody wants to kill Redick for playing 5 guys at the end of the game 4. We're going to kill Thibodeau later with the timeout, not getting his 2 players. And this is not Doc's fault. He told him on the last possession, we have a foul to give. They didn't give the foul. Halliburton gets the layup. Steve just hit it on Trent. That's a horrific loss. Now, the one thing I would say, in the moment, it's a horrific loss. This is not Game 7. They were not going to win the series anyway. They're down 3-1 without Lillard. I think Indiana would have won Game 6. So I don't expect the Buck fan to feel that way because this is so immediate, and I don't expect the player to feel that way or the coach, but I do as a fan. All right, terrible loss, awful. What a way to end the season. But I don't think they were getting through the series. It wasn't a Game 7. So I don't think they were getting to the series anyway. As far as Giannis is concerned, I'd love to see him stay. First off, it would show me a lot to bail on that city now with Lillard out, with the way they've played, and now he's going to leave. You're crippling the franchise. That's the first thing. Second thing, he's already won a championship. Most of the guys who leave after being in a city for a period of time, they haven't won yet, and they want to have a chance to win one.
Well,
he's got one.
But I feel like, I want to get Windy in here, but Windy, I feel like we saw glimpses this season of what this team could be. Obviously, they had the blood clot and then now the Achilles, and Bobby Portis was gone for a bit. So we never really got to see them entirely at full strength. Windy?
Yeah, but the problem with that, Molly, is that next season doesn't have Dame Lillard, or at least for a large part of it. To me, this was a story of 2 players, and Gary Trent, you could have, written a movie about what happened to him in this game, but this was about Tyrese Halliburton and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Tyrese Halliburton, I just want to remind you, 10 days ago or so, was ridiculed by his peers in the NBA because there's this poll that comes out in The Athletic where they polled 150 players and Tyrese Halliburton was voted the most overrated player. Now, I think that's related to the fact that he was on Team USA last year. He didn't get a lot of playing time, and there was a lot of people who probably preferred that spot. It was a bit of a controversial thing. But whatever, he got branded that. Rick Carlisle, his coach, immediately came out and defended him. But how do you, of course that affects you. So here he is in a closeout situation where he is awesome. We're not even showing the highlight of the dunk that he had that forced overtime. He has an incredible driving dunk that forces overtime. Then his team is in big trouble down the stretch, and he makes 2 killer drives to the basket. And I just want to talk about the last play. The ball goes out of bounds. It goes in between Trent's legs, okay? That means that the Pacers get to call the play. And they call the play to have Pascal Siakam come up and set the screen for him. They know that Giannis is going to be on Siakam. So that means on the sideline they said, we're going to isolate Tyrese Halliburton on Giannis Antetokounmpo because we believe he can win us the game. And he makes it happen. He gets the corner turned, beats the Bucks defense, and scores on the former Defensive Player of the Year. Amazing. It's a supreme moment in his career. I realize he will later want to win bigger playoff games later in the playoffs. He's on top of the scorers table, having his moment, and he tweets after the game, overrate that, which is an ode to Kobe Bryant, something that happened when he tweeted something years ago. Amazing moment. And then you look at the other side of it, which is Giannis. This is a statistic. I've been talking about it this week. It just got worse. It's devastating for the Bucks fans, and I'm sorry for them to bring it up. In the last 10 playoff games Giannis has played in, he has averaged 30 points, 15 rebounds, and 6 assists. Last night he had 30, 20, and 13, and they're 1-9 in those games. Yep. It's devastating. And he has done nothing this year but focus on this season. There's been no whispers out there. There's been nobody in that organization who've been like, wow, he may not want to be here. If you call his agent and say you want to talk about it, he will shut you down. Okay? He has been focused on this season. But how can you ignore that? How can you ignore 3 straight first-round exits and knowing that Dame Lillard is potentially going to be out for most of, if not all of next season? It's not his fault, but that's just reality.
1-9 in the last 10 playoff games. What that says is that when you're averaging 13, 15, and 6, and you go 1-9, you don't have enough help. And there's no help on the horizon. So when you look at it from that standpoint, why would he want? And my only last thing that I want to say to you, Doggy, because I know we got another subject that I want to get to real quick. Yeah. I want to get to that. This is the last point that I'll make to you, Doggy. When you win a championship for a city, you're not bailing. If you don't deliver the goods, I get that part. But when you've been to this in the city for years,
you can go that way,
and you delivered the chip, you finished the job.
You can leave.
You've afforded yourself that luxury. I totally agree with you if you ain't bringing them a championship. But if you've delivered the championship, then you don't owe a city.
You just have to make sure it's the right situation where the grass is green.